Okay, hi class. Let's just do a recap of this week's maths lessons. So we looked at shapes, we looked at geometry, we looked at angles that are involved in different shapes, and also linking geometry to coordinates. So let's just look at the rules that we covered this week, okay? So the first rule is for angle properties, okay? We looked at number one, a straight line is equals to 180 degrees. Secondly, opposite angles are the same. A is equal to B and the other opposites are also equal. So C is equals to D. Okay. Thirdly, a full turn is 360 degrees. Fourthly, I have a triangle. All the angles in a triangle will sum up to 180 degrees. Okay, and then we also looked at a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral is a shape with four sides. They sum up to 360 degrees. No matter what shape they are, as long as they have four sides, they will equate to 360 degrees. And then we looked at alternate angle and corresponding angles. So they include parallel lines. So when I have something like this, okay, alternate angles form a Z. So these angles are the same. Okay, these angles and these angles. So these are alternate angles. And then we look at the last one, which is corresponding angles, where I also have parallel lines, a line cutting through them. This forms an F shape. You can see the F here. And these angles are the same. Okay, so corresponding angle, alternate angles and corresponding angles. Alternate angles form a Z shape, corresponding angles form an F shape. So these are the basic rules that we looked at. And then we look at the next part, which is how geometry can be seen in coordinates. But before that, let's just look at the elements of the coordinate system. Okay, so I have the x-axis and I have the y-axis. Okay, remember when we have coordinate system, when we draw a graph, when we want to do anything related to graph, the scales must be uniform. And this side positive, this is 0, this side is negative. Okay? And then, same thing. Up is positive and down is negative. Okay, when we draw coordinate system and we draw graphs, these distances must be of same length, including here. Same length. Okay, so if I had a point on the graph, let's say this point, what is the coordinate? The coordinate consists of an x-axis and a y-axis. That means the point, how we write it, must also have an x value and a y value. Okay, so the x value that is corresponding to this point is 2. So I write 2 here. And the y value on the y-axis corresponds to 1. So 1. Let's say I have another point. Let's say here. Again, x comes first. So the x-axis value is 3. And the y-axis value is -2. So this is how I write points. Okay? And then we look at one final thing, which is calculating midpoint. So let's say I have a line, okay? Let's say I choose another point here. This has -2, -2 as the coordinate. And I have a line joining that. Okay, it's a straight line. And I want to find the midpoint. Now, I can estimate the midpoint to be somewhere here, but I want to know the exact point. So, there is a formula for this. Okay, to calculate midpoint, midpoint is also a coordinate like this. I have an x value and a y value. So, to find, I use this formula. Okay, I must use 2 points to find the midpoint. So I choose this point and this point. Now this is one x value, this is one y value. This is one x value, this is one y value. Okay, so if this is x, this is y, this is x, this is y. So I choose, maybe this is x1, y1, x2, y2. It can also be the other way around, x1, y1, x2, y2. So I just plug in the numbers into the formula. So, because my midpoint is also an x and a y coordinate, so for this first number, I use all the x. For the second number, because it's a y, I use all the y. I cannot take one x and one y, no. X with x, y with y. So, the first x is -2. The second x is 2. So, -2 plus 2, divide 2. And then I take the y, -2, and then the second y is 1 divided by 2. And then I calculate. -2 plus 2 is 0, so 0 over 2. -2 plus 1 is -1 and then over 2. So my coordinate is 0 divided 2 is 0, and then this is -half. That means my midpoint will be 0 for my x value and y value is -half. So 0 for my x value is here. The center has a coordinate 0, 0. -half. My y axis will be -half. So if -1 is here, -half is somewhere here. So which means my midpoint is here. You see, just now I estimated here, right? So I get my midpoint here. So this is my midpoint. And my midpoint point is 0, -half. That is how I calculate midpoint. So that is all for this week. We looked at rules of angles and we looked at the coordinate system, how to label them and how to find a midpoint of a line in a coordinate system. Okay, that's all for this week.